Hi, I'm Elena Young.
I'm Jade Garcia.
Hey, I'm Mary Dixon.
And I'm Alexandra Layton, and this is our presentation on fear conditioning in sea lions to reduce conflict with fisheries. So first we have to describe the problem. There is a major competition between California sea lions and Steller sea lions with fisheries along the California, Oregon, and Alaskan coasts for foods. This has also been reported a major problem for South American fishing communities along the coast between fishermen and South America sea lions and fisheries off the coast of New Zealand. But for the sake of this presentation, we're just going to focus on competition between United States and the sea lions along the western coast. So there was a significant decline in California and Steller sea lions from the 1970s to the 1990s, with an over 80% decline of the species along the west coast. So the U.S. made laws to try to protect them. The 1990 U.S. Endangered Species Act protected Steller sea lions from being hunted, and the 1972 U.S. Marine Mammal Protection Act put the California sea lions under federal protection. As a result, the sea lion populations recovered significantly, but they began to create issues for fishermen and fisheries along the coasts. So some of the issues that sea lions pose for fisheries is they pose a major threat to populations of salmon and steelhead migrating upstream each year. The sea lions congregate at the dams and wait for the fish to move up the fish ladders and significantly reduce the populations in these areas, and as a result, they never make it upstream, and so the reproduction is also very low. They have also been observed eating on fish stocks and eating like the communities of the fish, and they are leading to declining fish populations in several species, including pollock, salmon, steelhead, mackerel, Pacific cod, and lamprey. It has been reported that wild winter salmon are on the brink of extinction, and that steelhead have a 90% risk of extinction if sea lion populations are not soon controlled. And they also damage fishing equipment and take up space on docks, which is what we can see in the picture on the right.
How animal behavior can help. Many animal behavior concepts are prevalent in this study, and studying these concepts allows us to understand behaviors better and create the best method to achieve our goal. The main concept that is prevalent here is that of competition. As we can see, there's a huge competition between sea lions and fisheries over many different fish species. And the concept of operant conditioning is what we will be using to reach a solution. And operant conditioning is punishment or reinforcement of behaviors that causes sea lions to learn. So in this case, we're using negative punishment to elicit a fear response in the sea lions near fisheries. This is to decrease the behavior of sea lions looking for their prey near fisheries. And we also plan to implement an aspect of positive reinforcement to allow the sea lions to better learn this. And we plan to do this by creating more fish habitats in areas that are far away from fisheries, of course, to strengthen the behavior of sea lions capturing prey from a different location of the fisheries.
So does it work? We have 3 sources compiled here. The first 2 provided condition-dependent results. The very first study by Demuth and et al. Employed fear conditioning using predator odors in rainbow trout. And they had treatment groups with fish that had increased cortisol levels and fish with unmanipulated cortisol levels, all of which underwent the conditioning. All the fish avoided the area when the predator odor was released initially. However, the unmanipulated fish habituated within 10 days, while the experimentally increased cortisol levels of the other group ended up having them avoid the location for a longer period of time after the 10 days. So it worked in that group, but not the first group. The second study by Schnacker et al. uses sea lions specifically and employs acoustic deterrents, such as a startling sound, to hopefully produce avoidance in sea lions. They produce this sound at fishing vessels and bait barges, and initially the sea lions would avoid the area and surface less often. However, they rapidly habituated and the response no longer worked. The final study did produce successful results. It also used sea lions and acoustic deterrents such as the startling cue. But this fear conditioning did appear to prevent sea lions from nearing fisheries and did not indicate habituation and worked in the long term. The data on the right happens to be from this study. The top graph shows how the conditioning continued, the probability of the flight response increased, and the bottom graph shows that over the duration of the conditioning experiment, the likelihood of prevention or avoidance increased as well. It's measured in this case by the amount of fish not caught. So a high number indicates that there were very few fish caught. And as we can see, these studies seem to be producing a lot of varying results. So much of the research indicates that there needs to be more fine-tuning on the procedures employed.
So as you've heard, there is some success when using acoustic deterrent devices to elicit a fear response in sea lions. However, improvements can be made to this method as it can have certain ecological consequences. Some consequences include interference with marine communication, as it can cause substantial noise pollution in the marine environment. This was proposed by Goetz and Yannick. Also, long-term exposure can also cause hearing damage to marine mammals and cause certain disorientation. As you can see here in this figure, current ADDs or acoustic deterrent devices used usually operate at a higher frequency than what pinnipeds such as the California sea lions may be used to and are more sensitive for. It also demonstrates the ADD frequency concerning other marine organisms. Now, for certain improvements and solutions that we can make, it would be to decrease overall sound exposure, to use smaller intervals with the same frequency of sound or lower frequency of sound. Another big one is to create and use target-specific devices that can better utilize an organism's neural flight response and essentially tailor the output to only the target species, which in this case would be sea lions for near fisheries or barges. Schaffner also proposes something similar, that fear conditioning should be more species specific, and that instead of eliciting a fear response, they should instead instill a sense of fear, a sense of anxiety in the target species, as the fear response is more short term. Schaffner also lists other forms of deterrence that can be used that don't have as much of an environmental or ecological consequence, which would be more chemosensory, visual, and tactile deterrence.
This is a list of all of the studies that we use to compile this information.